Good evening, everyone. I just want to welcome you all. My name is John Nelson. I am part of the City of Springborough's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The reason why I struggle with it so much is we don't call it that. We call it BPAC for short. So if you hear the word BPAC mentioned tonight, that's what it stands for. Springboro Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. So we really appreciate you all being here. How many fellow Springboro residents can I see? Perfect, wonderful. And those of you who are visiting as guests, welcome. We'd love to have you back here. We are a bicycle-friendly community. We have great places where you can come ride your bike with various different backgrounds, various different abilities. We would love for you to come back and enjoy our city, enjoy the small businesses that we've got in our city as well. I'm going to go ahead and ask Dan to kind of introduce our speaker today, Tracy. But before I do that, I do have to acknowledge all the work and the support that, of course, City Council, but as well as the City of Springboro staff provide BPAC, and the amount of effort and work that goes into things like this. We just come up with the ideas, they truly execute it. So let's give them a hand.
Thank you.
The person who gets the word out, so all of you lovely folks who hear that we're doing something like this is Maureen. Let's give a hand to Maureen as well. Thank you very much. But I hope you enjoyed tonight, and I am looking forward to listening to the speaker as well. And I hope you all picked up a card, because this is just one of many talks in a series. So this is the second of the many talks we're going to have. And so I hope you enjoy the second lecture here in the Next Destination speaker series. Yeah, come on up.
Great. Thanks, John. Thanks, John. I really appreciate that. In addition to some of the folks that he mentioned, by the way, I'm Dan Boron. Also want to recognize Jason Vogel up there for doing Sound and Light, and Joe over here to my right, who's doing the videographer. I'll jump into that right now. Just so you know, all the sessions, including tonight's, are being video recorded for later broadcast on City of Springboro, a cable access channel, and also YouTube. So the presentation will be dropped in. Should be available within a couple weeks. So just want you to know that as well. So with that in mind, if you have your phone, please turn it off, or at least turn it on vibrate or low sound, so that we don't disturb our speaker tonight. First, she could not attend here because she is ill, but want to thank also Nan Allen from the Springboro Public Library. We partner with the library. I'm putting this program together. I think we've been doing it since 2016. Crazy. So just a good partner to have on this effort. John already mentioned it, but we have 3 more speakers, including one coming up next Tuesday, January 30th at Springboro Public Library Community Room. So please pick up on a card on the way out. There are plenty of them. And we have 2 more programs in early March. So this is only the second of 5 programs that are going on this year. So thank you very much for all of you attending. Plenty of items outside as well to go pick up for you. Okay, Tracy Burge. When we set this up, Burge, sorry. When we all set this up and I first reached out to you, I didn't realize you were a Springboro resident. That came later. So now I learned that you're on the 1979 basketball team, girls basketball team, state runner-up. So another great thing. But Tracy has been dreaming of long trails since childhood after reading about a kid who rode his bike across country. So after years of adventures and misadventures, she saw that upon retirement, read about the longest bike map or bike trip in the world and found the North Sea Trail, which she'll be presenting tonight, as well as her bike, which will be a prop here, and I guess it's going to be undressed as the evening goes on. So you are all warned about that. So without further ado, I want to introduce up to the stage Tracy.
Thanks for coming. Thank you, Dan. I wanted to thank Dan and the City of Springboro for this. Wow, when I was here, this would have been in the Clear Creek Elementary gym, you know. So this is awesome, an awesome space. I'm excited to be here and share this route. It's a great route, and like Dan said, I did it for retirement. But how did this start? A lot of people ask me why and how did this all start? Well, like he said, I was in the 6th grade class, Mrs. Lawson's room. Anybody know Mrs. Lawson? No way! Really? Didn't you just love her? No way! Kelly?
Yep, 82.
I'll be darned. What's your name?
John Wonderly.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, and you're, Tom, old friends. Isn't that awesome?
I had Mrs. Lawson for 6th grade as well.
Did you? Wow. I just loved her. I figured she's, what, 83 now? Oh.
But I didn't have Terry.
Oh, yeah. Just you. Wonderful times, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I unfortunately sat in her class and stared out the window most of the time. Until she gave us the Scholastic magazine. You guys remember that? And I read about a guy who had ridden across country with his father. And I thought, now that is something, right? So I wanted to do that. And we eventually did. It's my sister and I up there on the hay bales, riding a upside-down dog and somebody else's golf cart. But when you ride on a bicycle, you have time to do that kind of stuff. You don't get time to do that kind of stuff very often. We paid the children in the back there to pet their kittens. And they gladly took our money. We rode along the Great Lakes. How often do you get to do that? And people want to talk to you and meet you. These people here, we were coming into a small town in Montana, and we called the post office ahead of time, and we said, look, we're going to be there 4th of July on a Saturday. How are we going to do this? Get our boxes. And they said, look, we'll give it to the people that live in the only white house in town. And we were like, okay. So we got there, and this young couple there, they had tables laid out. They had all of our boxes on the table. They had coffee brewing. They couldn't wait to spend time with us. And we ended up spending the whole afternoon with them just because it's fun. So you get to meet all kinds of people when you do these bike rides. And sometimes you just don't know why you're doing it. So most of the time, though, you do. Now, this trip that I took was my retirement trip. And I had long dreamt about riding for a long time on the longest signposted route that I could find. And so that was my first job, was finding a route. How can I find a route that I know is signposted? So I started Googling, and I came up with the Eurovelo routes. Has anybody ever heard of these guys? Oh, they're beautiful routes. And you can see here, they're all over Europe. So I chose one, and that was the North Sea Cycle Route, 6,000 kilometers or 3,500 miles. Oops. Once I knew where I was going, I needed a map. And there's the North Sea Cycle Route. You can see England, Scotland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, France. It's 9 countries. Let's see here. So now I have a route, and I had to follow it somehow. So Komoot is a really good way to follow this route. It was satellite. We could use it on our phone, which was right here. Told us which way to turn if there weren't signs. And there were signs most of the time, but not always. And people asked us, you went through 9 countries, so there had to have been border crossings, right? Well, there were, but nobody asked us a question. Nobody asked us for a passport. And nobody even looked in our bags. So we did it ourselves. Uh-oh, no volume. I'm saying, Carolyn's asking me for my passport, and then she says, right there, she says, what's the square root of 144? I say 12. And then she says, what's your middle name? And I'm like, did you have to ask that? It's Bernadette. And then she said, welcome to Sweden. And I said, thank you. That was our border crossing. We just made it up ourselves. Oh yeah, the 2 words, that was Norway. And then as the slide went on, that was Sweden. That was the border crossing. All right, so you have a destination. I'm going to tell you the nuts and bolts of kind of how to do something like this. So you pick a destination. That was the North Sea Cycle Route. You get a map. You find some way to follow that map. And then you get your bike. All right? So here's the bike. A lot of people ask us, how do you get your bike there? Well, we pack it up, we scoot it through the airport like that, and they put it on the plane. But make sure you know how to put it back together. It takes a couple hours to put 2 bikes back together. That's what they look like once they're put together. I'll go over the bike with you guys. Or that's another example. We typically pack light, but that's a long time experience. The more packs you have, the more you put in it. So you can see as you go along, that's what your bike ends up looking like. You put stuff on it, you buy Pringles, you put it there, you got bananas right there. And then you pick up flags. So that's the back of the bike. And this is the front of the bike. You got to have the co-pilots, right? So we love to pick up things around. That's been with me since 2007. It's fun. But we do have our GPS unit, our speedometer there, our lights, in case we're out after dark, and that's a spot tracker. Anybody know what a spot tracker is? Yeah? You know what a spot tracker is? Okay, so spot trackers are used by hikers and bikers. It's a satellite GPS thing. So the keen thing about that, it allows people to follow you. And I once said to my friend, who's going to follow me? And she said, you know what? There are going to be people out there at their job in front of their computer going, another Monday. And then think, what are they doing? And they'll put your spot tracker in and look you up. Matter of fact, Carolyn's mother had a map on the kitchen table, and every morning she'd look where we had slept, and then she'd follow us along until she saw where we slept the next day. So it brings people into your route, and it's a lot of fun to share that way. All right, so now you have the bike. We're going to go over the bike. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the spot tracker. The extra thing about the spot tracker, it comes with $200,000 of extraction insurance, just in case something happens. They'll come in with a helicopter, they'll fly you out somewhere, and it's a good bit of reassurance. Okay? All right. Oh, this is the packing list. Okay, so I'm going to undress my bike here for you so you know kind of what's on it. Sleeping system. This in the front pack is the sleeping system. So you have your sleeping bag, right? And a sleeping pad. And it's one of those small blow-up ones, right? Okay. What do you need next? Pillow. A tent. Aha! Pillow. Gotta have it. And yes, very good, the tent. Let's see if I can get it out. There it is. Notice it's packed in plastic. Even this is water resistant proof. There's nothing waterproof when you're out there, especially when you're out there all day in the rain. So that's it. Up here in the front are little things you need, like a full arm sleeve, a tattoo, right? Warmers, arm warmers, sunscreen, lotion, lip balm, little reminder pad. Waterproof for your phone. Yeah. And that's about it. Then, of course, like I said, all your electronics here. This is what we call the lunch box. Now, you eat a good breakfast, right? But an hour later, what are you? Absolutely, you're hungry. So in here, you stuff it all full of yummy goodies, such as, like this is cinnamon, brown sugar, how do you say that? Bativa? Yeah, you want them? There you go. How about some cherry slices? Come on, come on. There you go. Oh, close. Pretzels. There you go. Oh, gummy bears. Yeah, I knew I'd have a taker on that. All right. This is also, since you never have enough snacks, right? You're going to wish you said, oh, M&Ms, right? M&Ms? There you go. Oh, I'm short all the time. Pringles. Pringles. There you go. Watch your head. And a couple more items. This area here is called the frame pack. And it opens up. Look at that. Never enough food on a trip because you're spending a bunch of calories. Isn't that the great thing? So moon pie. No vanilla moon pie? How about Twinkies? Some of my favorite. All right. I do love apples and potato chips. Yeah, bite for bite, you know. Anybody? Salt. There you go. You got to have salt. So salt and sugar keeps you going. So you need to have salt and sugar on your bike. Sometimes we'll take frozen burritos and they stay throughout the day. They don't get rotten. But most of the time we just have sugar or snacks. On the bike, you can eat. Usually on a trip like this, you can get restaurants, convenience stores and stuff like that. This is the tools. And I went all long years of emptying out a water bottle with all my tools in it. Look at this. Wow, right there, right? So tools. Ah, right. Espisa cycling bag. On Amazon. Yeah. It's really good. Let's see, here's my inner tubes. I started carrying up here because there's a lot of space here and I wanted this full of food, snacks. All right, back here. Oh, no, right here. This is just a little pouch for convenient little things you're going to need, like a new bite valve for my water pack. Quick fixes, Allen wrenches, stuff like rubber bands for putting on your stuff. And then, oh, diaper rash ointment. You know how that goes. Back here, kind of the restroom area, because you have to stop along the way. Oh, I'll show you this. Ah, there it is. Your towel. And clothes back here. So this is, again, waterproof, and it has a nice thing. When you squeeze it, hear that air? And then you can close it, and then it stays kind of compact for a while. Now, of course, you want to ride with as many colorful clothes as you can get. So we usually wear orange or pink or something like that. And then, of course, there's a puffy jacket. Just make sure you have enough clothes in case of any bad weather. I think my bad weather stuff is over here. This is the rain suit and rain socks. We have gone to mostly wearing sandals on the bike. And if it rains, you put weatherproof socks on. And it really does the trick. You can feel that cool air through your toes most of the time. Gloves, in case it gets rain pants, and rain jacket. And then the most favorite thing about this hotel shower curtain or shower cap goes on top of your helmet. Keep the rain from getting in your helmet. I had a friend who had this really expensive hat, and I'd put that on every time, and he'd just shake his head. All right, now this side, again, your packs are never waterproof, so we have electronics in like a dry bag. And then your electronics, of course, music, a charger, batteries. What else I have? Oh, if you're on the Uravella route, you have to have something that, you can get different plugs, because they're all different over there. So you got to carry that. And let's see what else is in there. Another set of tools. You want this one? Yeah. We carry a tire tool set and then a bike tool set. It's too much to put in one. So that's the tire tool set and first aid. You got to have some first aid. We really don't use it that much, but that's about it. Not too bad. Oh, we carry a water pack. I don't like anything on my back, but we have to have water somewhere, and there's not a lot of room for water bottles, so we have a water pack. But I have a purse that's attached to it, right? Because riding backwards is terrible, isn't it? Oh, I left my credit card. So let's see here. All right, that's the sleep system, the tools, the clothes, the food, and the electronics.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How much does your bike weigh when you're rolling fully loaded?
Okay, about 52, 55 pounds. But this mountain bike is pretty light to start with. And then I've learned over the years to narrow it down. Now, if we're carrying a stove to cook food with, that adds weight because you got to have fuel too. But generally about 50, 55 pounds. It's not too bad. It looks heavier than it is. And you get used to it. All right. Now, we have a destination. We have a map. We've got a bike. We've got it packed, or we think we do. Now we have to plan, or not. I'm not a big planner. We did this whole trip, not a reservation one. You pull into town, if there's no motel, you go wild camp, they call it. You know what wild camping is? You do this, right? Generally over there, people let you camp anywhere you want to. And if you're nice, people don't mind most of the time. You clean up after yourself. But for some people, planning makes you feel more safe. It's really a personal thing about how much planning you want to do. You can plan the whole route and be there every night where you're supposed to be. Sometimes that doesn't allow for spontaneity. It doesn't allow for those people that we stayed with all afternoon on July 4th. So you have to kind of decide ahead, knowing that, the best laid plans, or plan B. And in my family, we say plan B is no plan at all. So it's a personal thing how much you want to plan. And generally, when you don't plan, it works out. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about fear, because a lot of people ask me, aren't you scared? Yes. How do you get out there? Well, you just do it. It does dissipate. The fear does dissipate once you get out there. But yeah, I'm afraid. Sometimes my hand shakes. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'm lost and I'm frustrated. But overall, it's really a wonderful thing. Don't let the news make you afraid. I've never had any trouble out on the road. Never. So people can, my dad. Oh my gosh, what are you doing out there? I've never had any problem. It's really wonderful to be out there, to slow your life down, to smell, hear, as you go by, you hear the sheep and you call back to them. When do you do that in your car? You don't. So don't be afraid. If you want to do something like this, even if it's a 2-day adventure, do it. It will be okay. And encourage others to be part of your journey. We encouraged our family, and there we are in Norway with my sister there and my nephew, who's now 6'5". Well, he was quite tall there, you can see. And they came to Norway with us, and at that point, you stop being a biker and you become a tourist. And we rode boats, and we went on trips, and we rode the little escalator, but it's not called an escalator, up the mountain, and we're up on the top, and it was beautiful. And we took about 4 or 5 days there, and it's awesome because their presence there made us change our trip a little bit. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we have a route, we have a map, we have a bike, we have packed it, we've planned, or we haven't, and now fitness. And, well, we all wait to the very end, don't we? You don't have to be fit to do something like this. 8 days to fitness will take care of it. You start the first day and you think, I feel great, this is awesome. And the second day you're like, oh, this hurts. And by the 5th day you're like, I feel pretty good. And by the 8th or 10th day you really are fit, nothing's hurting, and you just keep going. I've started some trips where I was really, really fit, and, did 70 miles the first day. And I've started trips where I wasn't fit at all, and I did 30 miles the first day, and maybe 40 the next day, and maybe back to 30. It doesn't matter if you're fit or not. It just matters that you want to do it, and you make yourself do it. It'll happen. Other important things. Make sure and stop and talk to the locals. I can't do very long without touching some kind of fur. So I did a lot of that. All right. Now we're going to go to the trip because we've done everything we need to do to get there, and we started in England. Here's the map, and this is England right here. A little close up. There you go. We spent about 10 days in England. It was fantastic. We were just gobsmacked at the beauty, how quaint it was, how friendly people were, how many hills there were. But look at that. People had flowers everywhere, just a little bit different, fields of flowers. They just live a little bit different life. That's Monday morning traffic in England. Castles, just castle after castle. We just couldn't believe our eyes. We're like, wow, this is awesome. Here we're wild camping at a church. That's a really good place to wild camp because they generally don't mind and it's generally safe. We also like cemeteries because there's water in a cemetery. Of course, then we went next to Scotland, even hillier. There's Scotland right there. About 12 days, and it was more open than England. Yet still had quaint, small villages that were beautiful, old. Now, talk about old. This is a 16th century house that we stayed in. Have you guys ever heard of warm showers? Right? Warm showers is an underground kind of, what do you want to say, organization that allows bikers to stay with bikers for free. Do you guys know Downton Abbey? Downton Abbey, look at the bells. Do you recognize them? Yeah, remember when the servants would sit? Yes, and they'd ring a bell and they'd jump up. Well, we were talking about that with Wilhelmina right here, our warm showers host, and we decided to reenact Downton Abbey. There's our star right there, Carolyn. She's right there. So it was so much fun. With the host, we were all giggling like teenagers, and we said, let's make it up. Let's video it. So here's the video. She's just chatting away, and then the bell sounds. And Carolyn's acting like the servant. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry. Oh, and I am the impatient Lord. We go through the house. And I say, you're quite late. And then she curtsies, and we cracked up. And everybody, you can't see them, but the whole family was behind there. We were all in it. It was so much fun. Now, this was a little town called Falkland in Scotland, and we saw this violin shop, and we're like, oh man, we got to go see that, right? So we go in there, and we met this man who knew Johnny Cash, small world, and he told us about the story. I hope we have sound. No sound. Oh, that's too bad, because he says in a very thick accent, oh, Johnny, he came here because he traced his ancestors here. I can't do the accent. And I said, how did you meet Johnny in this town? He said, well, it's a wee town. Of course we saw him. So Johnny came here, and then they started a relationship, and it ended up Johnny Cash's daughter came and did a concert for them, and they raised money for the violin shop. Just because we took the time to look into the violin shop, we got that whole story. So be sure, again, when you're planning, leave some time to talk to the locals. I wish we could hear the accent. Oh, there he goes, he's talking. All right, there's Roseanne Cash, right? And all his violins. He was quite the character. He could play guitar. He played guitar for us. That's a 14th century bridge. Amazing. Just more beautiful little towns and buildings. And the little seaside villages were gorgeous, and the fish and chips were delicious. These were some of our signposts. Very beautiful. Another traffic jam. And then this was my favorite sign of the whole trip. Another seaside village. And now we're in Norway. All right? So here we are, England, Scotland. We took a ferry here to the Orkney Islands, and then a small plane, had to pack up the bikes again, put them back together again, and now here's Norway. We did again about 12 miles in Norway. It was sparsely populated, but oh so beautiful again. Look at that. The roads were quiet, and children were out playing by themselves. This little dude wanted to bike with us, and he did through the town. It was just so cool. You felt like you went back in time. These are Norwegians' garages. Another Norwegian garage, another quiet road. I have a story about this young lady. We wanted to wild camp again, and we saw her out gardening, and she had these big shears with her, and you know, we kind of, you know, can we sleep in a tent in your yard? And she said, yeah, come on in. So we're putting up the tent, and there's these big black slugs about this big, and I'm carefully picking them up and moving them out of the tent area, right? And she comes over to see what we're doing, and I carefully picked up another slug and put it over here, and she was standing there, and she reached down and cut it in half with her shears. I was like, I was saving that. She said, no, bad. Oh, she was quite the character. Just more beautiful towns, and of course, lots of bay towns or seaside towns. There's Sweden. So here we go again. England, Scotland, Norway, and a little bit of Sweden. Not too many miles there, just 4 days. I love this sign. Who's a cat lover? I'm a cat lover. Yeah. Look at that. Beware of the cat. Slow down. Love it. Pigs. And then we got ready for a big ferry ride across to Denmark. Denmark was rainy, rainy, rainy most of the time. I love this little dude in his little jumper, rain suit jumper. All right, so here we are in Denmark right here. Closer picture. About 9 days and lots of headwinds. Terrible headwinds. Beautiful windmills though, of course. You got to enjoy the windmills because of the wind. I wish you could hear this, but look at the sea. That's how windy it was. And then watch my hair. It's like, and then we were biking against that wind. And I say here, oh my gosh. All right, whoops, I just did a wrong button. There it is. All right. I love the thatch roofs there. Just beautiful old buildings. Beautiful old towns. Now we're in Germany. Here we are, Denmark, now Germany. This little V here, a little close up. Went into Hamburg. 5 days about. Very little English. Very few people spoke any English. We never knew what we were ordering on the dinner. Most of the time it was meat and potatoes, but we didn't know what meat. But it was, again, just beautiful. Cobblestones are a little hard to take, but it was beautiful. Now, this was really interesting. These guys were re-thatching a roof. So I stood there and asked them, how are you doing it? So they would throw it up to that guy, and that guy would throw it up to these guys, and then they used these tools where they smashed it up in there, and then smashed it along the edge here, and then would cut it. It was so interesting to watch. They said these things last about 50 years, much better than asphalt shingles. Gorgeous. It reminded me of World War II videos that I've seen, right? Those barns. And then this guy here had little red footprints on the road, and we're like, what are these things? And we're starting to follow them. And they went to this beautiful windmill, and he took us up in there, and he showed us the workings of the windmill. We went all the way up through the top up in here, all the big gears, and I was just fascinated by how that all worked. And he keeps it as a working windmill so that people can see what they used to be. Now we're in the Netherlands. All right, we're right about in here. There's a little bit, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm so sad we don't have sound. There's Netherlands. And you can see people ride their bikes of all ages. This is the grocery store right there. Look at the parking lot. That's the parking lot for the grocery store. Look at that. It was awesome. And this is the town we were in. Anybody want to try it? Huh? So we asked this guy, you're close, you're very close. We asked this guy if he could say it, and he says it very slowly, Hipólito Schoof. And then we asked him to say it quickly, and he got all tongue-tied. It was his own town. So we tried again, and she was telling us, Hipólito Schoof. And then she laughs and she says, Schoof. You got to schoof. See? Schoof. Just little fun things you get into. We asked that guy to say it, but we couldn't understand him. Beautiful little trails that we had. This was actually our trail. Some of it was gravel, not always on the roads. Here we are in Belgium, beautiful, beautiful sand dunes. We're right about in there. Oh, it's longer than I thought. Oh, because it includes the Netherlands. We were about 3 days in Belgium, and we went to Bruges. Anybody been to Bruges? Gorgeous, isn't it? Bruges was one of the few towns in World War II, big towns, that escaped the bombing of World War II. So all the buildings are still intact. Just gorgeous. I love the canals. That's the main town center. And now we're in France. Now this was a very interesting and emotional area because we were there at Dunkirk. You guys remember what Dunkirk was? It was where these soldiers, 338,000 British soldiers, were brought across the bay by any boat that was seaworthy, where they would go get 3, 10, 50, and bring them back over to Britain. So just to be there and see the outdoor museums and read about that, it was an emotional part of our trip. Here we are down here in France. And those are the White Cliffs of Dover. There were actually hospitals in there. I can't find the windows. We had another picture where it showed the windows. They built hospitals back in the cliffs so that the hospitals would be safe from any bombing. Then we were back at Britain, and we were standing there reading these signs at an outdoor museum. And 3 older people came up, and 2 older men said, "We watched the Battle of Britain." And we'd get on our bikes, and we'd ride over to any German plane that had gone down, and we'd look at the dead soldier. And then we'd get the metal from the planes, and they said, one guy said, I actually still have a box of scrap metal from the planes that went down. When we were kids, we'd go over there and get that. And then the woman came over to us with tears in her eyes and said, "If it had not been for you Americans, we would have lost this war." Still, 60, 80 years later, she can still get tears in her eyes about our ability to help them. So it was really interesting to stop again and talk to the locals. That's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Lots of questions. I noticed that you were on like some bike paths, some gravel paths, some roads. So what was that? Is like what did you say, Eurovelo?
It's the Eurovelo 1, and they connect all those things.
Yeah, and then you go to Komoot.com or something like that.
Yeah, and Komoot.com has Eurovelo 1 on it. So I could follow my little dot, and it would tell me turn left, turn right, if we didn't have a sign.
Okay, so how much, I don't really like riding on the roads, especially from bike.
You don't like it?
I don't like riding on roads.
No.
By myself.
Right.
A lot of roads.
No. And if there were roads, they were very, very quiet.
Okay.
Very quiet. Sometimes no traffic at all. I would say only about maybe 200 or 300 miles were we on any busy road.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do your sandals have clips?
Oh, yeah. My sandals have clips. Yeah, I love clips. Yeah. These are awesome. The air gets through. What brand? Let's see. EXU-Star. EXU Star.
And those are the only shoes we wore. Night and day, walked in them.
Right. Yes, right. See that? Yeah, it's none of this. Yeah. Yeah.
When did you go? And I did a second question. I'll remember in a second.
Okay. 2019, just after I retired. So what, I've been retired 5 years?
When in the year?
Oh, year. Mid-July to October.
Okay, and then the other question was, you said you had a mountain bike. I'm assuming mountain bikes would be preferable over a road bike for something like that, correct?
Oh, I've done thousands of miles on a road bike too. What we did with this mountain bike, and it's a really great way to do it if you want something like that, I like the position of a mountain bike. You're not all the way down like this. And then we just switch out tires. Or wheels. We have a mountain bike wheel, a road wheel. So this can become a road bike. And then we have touring tires. And right now I have the touring wheels on it. So
definitely use tubes, not tubeless.
no, these are tubeless. Yeah, the road tires, the road wheels are tubed. But the mountain bike and the touring are tubeless. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many miles did you do per day round?
Per day, 50 to 70, you know, whatever we felt like that day.
And what did you do when you went to a museum? Would you take, I mean, apparently you couldn't take everything from the bike into a museum. Did you just take your clothes or?
No, we left it just like this. And I forgot to show you, we have a very small cable. I don't think I brought it. Very thin cable that don't have it. It's thinner than half of my pinky with a lock. And that's just enough to deter somebody. We've never had our bike stolen. Not yet.
But I mean, also all the things you're here.
Oh yeah, people left it alone. Well, that's why I carry my money on my back. But nobody has ever taken anything off the bikes.
It's like 2 weeks, it's all pretty much very personalized.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Some people are like, ooh.
How do you handle like just maintaining your bike? And I don't mean like fixing repairs and spokes, but like just getting the dirt off of it. And like, what was that like?
That was Carolyn's job. I'm the mechanic. She's the cleanup crew.
Clean the chain, oil it every night, check the tire pressure.
Yep.
You run into any mechanical problems?
Little ones, you know, not shifting problems, stuff like that, but nothing major. Yeah.
Did you plan time on the end of your trip, or did you have the pressure to get back for your flight?
No time. It was a one-way ticket. Yeah. I was retired. Yeah.
Did you arrange that plane ride ahead of time, or were they pretty flexible?
No, they were. You mean Orkney? Yeah, they were flexible. We got 2 days. We had to stay a couple days, and then we took the flight.
And how many sets of clothing did you take?
2.
Just two. 2 shirts, 2 shorts.
That's right.
Did you wear chamois in your shorts?
Very little. I don't like the chamois, the thick chamois. They maintain too much heat and moisture. It's just it's a thin piece of fleece. That's it.
And last question is, what was your steepest grade?
Say that again.
The grade, percent grade?
Oh, Norway. I don't know the percent grade, but I think I walked 2 or 3 times, and it was everything I could do the rest of the time sometimes on the mountains, hills. And I just don't like to walk, not because I'm proud. It's just I prefer to bike. So sometimes Carolyn was walking and I was still biking, but it was steep.
I mean, she might be going literally.
Oh, right, 2 or under. Right, we would zero out the computer. We wouldn't, essentially we weren't moving, but we were.
What was your average temperature?
65, 70, 75. Yeah.
What was the most inclement weather you had, and was it ever something that prohibited you from riding that day, and what did you do if that was the case?
Yeah. One time it was absolutely pouring in Denmark. You saw the weather map, and we opened up the door and we were like, yeah, can we rent it another night?
You stayed at hotels sometimes too, then?
Yeah, cabins, hotels, we stayed in everything. Little campers, cabins, sheds, everything. Yeah.
What was the average speed you went?
But we say in our mind that we're going to make about 10 miles an hour. Now, we might be doing, 15, but then we stop for lunch, and then we go up a hill, so it's about 10. Yeah.
Or you have another adventure plan?
We have another adventure planned. In about 4 weeks, we're going to go from Spain to Greece, somewhere in there, on another Eurovelo route, Eurovelo 8. We have found that we love biking over there. The cars are much more respectful. There's a community of bikers. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations on fulfilling your dream.
Oh, thank you.
Cost-wise, I'm sure I'm not the only one wondering about it.
Yeah, I'd be glad to talk about it. Now me, I would prefer to camp, and when I camp and go to grocery stores for my food, you can get off maybe $10 or $15 a day because you're eating groceries and camping in the wild. But of course, when you're in a hotel, they're usually $70, $80, but that includes breakfast. And then if you're eating at a restaurant, you know how that goes. So it can add up pretty quick. So you can choose, again, you can choose what you want to do. I know in 2007, I traveled for a year. I took a sabbatical off work, traveled for a year, and I boasted that I was doing it for $5 a day. Of course, that was 2007. So now it'd be, what, like $50 a day. But I think I stayed in 2 or 3 hotels for a year. I was thinking about this the other day. I think I washed my clothes in a washer twice during that year. So you can get very cheap and pretty expensive. Yeah.
What did you retire from, if you don't mind me asking?
I followed Mrs. Lawson and I taught.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cost of the shipping of one bike?
It's about $150 to ship, right? On a plane. On a plane. And about same if you're not with your bike on the way, you know. When we quit, we fly home, we take our bikes to a bike shop and say, you know, and they pack them up and send them home. Now that can get weird. We came home in October this year, and we're still getting bike pieces from the bike shop in Wales. Still. Yeah, oh, we forgot this. Matter of fact, I have 2 different pedals on because they forgot one pedal. Dang. Yeah.
Did you carry a spare chain?
No. I've never had to worry about it. I've never had a chain fail. But we clean them. Carolyn cleans them most every night. Yeah.
Anything you wish you would have packed that you didn't? I mean, you look like you covered it all, but.
More Twinkies. No, and over years, you know, I've been doing this for years and I've pared it down pretty well. Normally, the real question is, what did I pack that I didn't need? You know, get rid of this. That was a terrible hill. Get rid of that. Anybody else?
How much water do you typically, like, fill up in the morning and then did you empty that and have to fill it up one more time throughout the day?
Yeah, it's kind of personal. I'm not a big water drinker, so a liter would last me a day, and Carolyn probably goes through 2 liters. So, yeah.
Did you do any kind of special hydration stuff or just straight water?
Straight water. And then straight beer, said Carolyn. Yeah, I find if I put sugar or anything in there, then I've had some Montezuma's Revenge.
So was there anywhere on that route that you had trouble getting water, or was it pretty plentiful?
No, on these Eurovelo routes, that's another thing I like about them. There's water, food, convenience stores, anything you want, most of the time. Now, I've been in remote bike trips, and yeah, water can be a problem, but not here, not in the Eurovelo routes. Yeah.
When you flew from the Orkney Islands to Norway, I guess, right?
Right.
You arrived at the airport with your plane, but how did you box it up or put it up? I mean, you didn't have any packaging to fly at the airport?
We went to the bike shop on the Orkney Islands, and then when we received them, then I put them back together.
So they arranged for the bicycle?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can usually go to any bike shop, say, hey, we're flying to such and such, can you help us out? And even if they can't do it, they'll probably have a bike box and you can do it. And then you just stuff whatever in there. Newspapers, your clothes, which we didn't have very many of, anything. Extra bike boxes that you cut up. Yeah.
How often would you clean your clothes?
You don't want to know. You know, again, when you're not in a hotel, not very often. But you try and keep some things clean. But in, you know, many times in a hotel, at night, you wash them in the sink, and then you wrap them around something, wring them out, and then hang them up and put them on the next day. You try and keep them as clean as possible, particularly your shorts, of course. Keep them as clean as possible. But the shirts... Anybody else? Yeah.
What time of year was the ride?
July 15-ish to October 15-ish. Perfect. We had really generally had perfect weather. We had maybe 5 or 10 days of rain in 3 months' time. Yeah, we were lucky.
Do you have any kind of travel insurance?
Oh, yes, the spot tracker, this little thing here, it carries $200,000 of extraction or medical insurance, etc. So it's like $250 to sign up for the GPS tracking, and that lasts 3 years, and that comes with that insurance. So yes, good idea.
So I don't know if they have in any of the other countries, but we were just in Scotland, the midges were horrific. Did you experience any issues with them?
We didn't. Wow. We didn't. We just hit it just right. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell them about our friends in Scotland that we traveled with.
Yeah, Dundee. So we were riding along, and I saw a young woman ahead of us, and we tried to catch up with her, and she was young, and she took off, and we thought we would never see her again. And then we pulled out in the next morning, and here she came behind us. And of course, you stop and talk to the locals. She was more local than we were, but she was on a bike ride by herself, and she was lonely. And so we hung out for 8 or 10 days, 15 days. Yeah. So the very next day, I saw a guy with a bike, and he's sitting on a bench kind of like this. And so I went and talked to him, and he was lonely. And we had a great time for about 10 days. We hung out together. We rode together. It was awesome. So you can pick up people along the way, and that happens with me when I cycle alone. I find other people that are also alone, and you do sometimes want to be with somebody else. Yeah.
Anywhere that you'd never go back and ride again?
You know, I don't think so. There's some shopping malls that I wouldn't, but no, I don't think so. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that, but right off the top of my head, no.
What are some of the trails that you've done in the U.S.? Like, have you done the Gap Trail and the...
Oh yeah, the Gap Trail, the C&O, the out in the Katy Trail. They're all great. The Gap and the C&O, great stuff. Yeah, we were on the Gap and the C&O. We were ending our trip, and this man came out of the woods in these tattered clothes, and he's walking along, and we invited him over for breakfast. Turns out he's a doctor from Sweden, and he was finishing his cross-country trip, and his clothes were tattered because they were sun-worn. The sun had just, disintegrated his clothing. He said he's done this sometimes, and he'll be in the airport, and somebody will offer him clothes.
Tell them about the TDR.
Oh, the TDR. I did do... now this was the remote area. I did do a trip from Banff, Canada to Mexico. It was gravel roads. It was actually a race, and it was solo. And you had to get everything on your own. The time started when June 12th, and it ended when you hit Mexico. And it was solo. You did it all on your own. Nobody supported you. Nobody cared if you were there or not. That was a great trip, but it was hard to get water sometimes. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
As far as some of the places where you've been, especially if you're wild camping and you run into wildlife. Do you have any issues with that?
I've never had any issues, but I've been like this in my tent in grizzly country. Whew, I don't like to think about that. But I've never had any other issues other than one time camping with my sister, the raccoons got into her lipstick. We imagine those coons. Now, I wanted to tell you something. When you plan, you got to plan on some mistakes. So we were, just this last trip, I had run out of toothpaste. So I went to the store to go get toothpaste. And the next morning I thought, I got to brush my teeth. So I'm brushing my teeth. It wasn't toothpaste. It was Polygrip. It was just filled my mouth. And we've done a couple of those, mistakes. You get lost sometimes. I traveled in Japan once. There's no English over there. I was lost more than I was found. I finally made it across, but wow. You just keep going. I cried sometimes, but you just keep going.
How long have you had your bike?
That bike, 2012. I love this bike. Once you find a bike that fits,
Does she have a name?
No, but I'm very sentimental about her. When I did the trip from Canada to Mexico, I was on her 14, 16, 18 hours a day. And when I got home, she had to be in my bedroom with me. Now she lives out in the living room, but.
What's next for you guys? Where are you going to next?
Spain to Greece. Yeah, but I'm retired now, so I have time. But even if you, like I said, even if you take a 2-day trip or a 3-day trip, that's what I used to do, and it was awesome. Just for 2 days or 3 days, you still smell, hear, talk to the locals. It's still all there, just shorter. Yeah.
What brand of bicycle is it?
It's a Moots. Have you ever heard of Moots? It's they're in Steamboat Springs. I've used all kinds of bikes. I meant to say that. I've used Walmart bikes. I went to Europe. I was in Greece and I bought basically this Walmart bike. And I made it all the way to Spain. It didn't matter. If you want to do it, it doesn't take a special bike. It just takes up here and right here.
How many bikes do you have right now?
N+1 is the ultimate. My whole family bikes. So we have a triple, actually. My 3 sisters, we get on a triple. We have a double, a tandem, and then, all the bikes I couldn't let go of. I still have the bike I rode across country in 1997, and all the other bikes that, you know how it is.
Do you prefer the hardtail versus a full suspension?
Actually, this is a soft tail. It has about 1 inch of travel. Yeah, I don't like full suspension because it'll break, but I do like that soft tail. It takes just a little bit of the bump out. Yeah.
What tire pressure are you running?
That's 40 right now. Of course, in my mountain bike, 28, 23, and the road bike, 90. So.
But the touring tires, you're at 40?
40, yeah. And make sure you know what the rim can take. Because when we started out with these touring tires, we thought, well, the tires said they could go up to 60. So we, 5 miles down the road, we're like, pow, pow. I'm like, what is going on? Until we finally read what the rim could take. And the rim could only take 40. So we went through, 4 tires before we figured that one out. Yeah.
You have to show me where that's at on the rim. I've never seen that.
Yeah, very, very fine print. Yeah, yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
Do you ever have any health things where you had to find a doctor or a hospital or any injuries, anything like that?
Yep. Oh, yeah. On the Canada trip, it was a race, and I started the race with the flu, unfortunately. And 5 days into the race, I couldn't eat, so my body was eating itself. And my legs were so swollen that they were coming down over my shoes. And so I had to stay in Whitefish. And of course, I'm at the doctor's, and I'm crying, I got to get back on the route. And he said, you aren't going anywhere. And he took me home with his wife, and I laid on their couch for 2 days. Yeah. And they fed me meat. I didn't even get up. They just kept feeding me meat because I needed protein. So that's about it. You know, I've had the Montezuma's revenge and that kind of stuff. You have to camp out a day or two, but generally, we both got sick with the cold. Could have been COVID, maybe, probably not. We had to stay in a hotel 2 days, and then 2 days later, 2 more days for her, 2 days for me. But nothing big. Yeah.
You're lucky to have a sister to travel with.
Boy, it's awesome, yeah. Yeah.
If you had to travel with friends, any recommendations on personality traits?
The best recommendation is duct tape. Well, if you guys are finished, I don't want to take your time. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you. Thanks. I still got Twinkies and a moon pie.